Being a teenager can be tough. For the stress of school to social pressure, the teenage years can be trying times. But it can be even more challenging for girls who, like it or not, are often faced with different reality than boys when it comes to their parents and what they can and can't do.
I think that I do have some differing opinions, and I'll apply things differently for them. I'm a little bit more cautious with Leslie than I am with Ryan. And right or wrong, I think it's still an age thing, since she's a few years younger, and it would apply to Christopher as well when he was that same age. But I think even at the same age of 15, I was probably a little bit more open with Ryan and Christopher, maybe because I thought they could protect themselves better, and that I don't think that they're as much under prey as a young girl would be.
For senior Elizabeth Knight, such fears were experienced firsthand.
I was driving my brother to go get gas, right after cheer practice, and I went to the QT, right there, kind of by the school, and I was just sitting there waiting for him because I told him to go in and give the money, and he was going to go buy something, and I was like, okay, and so I was sitting there waiting for the gas thing to say, I could plug it in, and this guy comes up to me, and he stands right in front of me, and he gave me his wallet and pulled out his phone. He was like, this is who I am, this is my name, and I need you to take me to this place. And I was like, I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that for you. And he was like, oh, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And so then all of a sudden he starts bending down and starts pulling my legs out of the car to get me to move. And Charlie, my brother, finally comes running out, and the guy goes away.
But when Knight was again approached by a random guy just a few months ago, she called the police.
I was picking up the kids that I nanny every day, and I needed to get gas again. And I was like, okay, we need to go give the $20 to the people inside, and y'all can go get slushies. So I let them get slushies. I was putting the lids on the slushies, and this guy walks up to the little girl, Alexis, and pokes her on the forehead, and was like, oh, what do you got there? Because she had a sticker. And she, I looked up, and I didn't know who he was or where he came from. And I was like, oh, she just gets that when she has a good day at school. And he was like, oh, well, are you her mom? And I was like, no, I'm not. And he was like, oh yeah, you look pretty young. And then started asking me all these questions if they went to the school around here, if I went to the school around here, if I lived around here. And so I immediately looked down and started texting my dad. I was like, Dad, can you come to racetrack? There's a creepy guy here. I don't know what's going on, but I'm scared. And so I walk up to the thing and pay, and he taps me on the shoulder, and he was like, may I ask how old you are? And I was like, I'm 17. And he was like, you're a beautiful 17-year-old. Would not leave me alone. And so then I turn around and I'm walking out, and I see him right behind me following me to my car. And so I tell the kids, I'm like, y'all, we need to run to the car. And I made it really quiet. And then I said out loud, last one to the car is a rotten egg, trying to make it sound like we were just trying to get to the car. And then he starts following after us. And so I get in my car, I turn around and I look at him, and I see that he's kind of right there. So I just don't even get the gas, and I go. And so I start driving, and then he gets in his car and follows me. So I'm driving, and I pull into the racetrack, and I'm like, okay, I don't see him. I think I'm all in the clear. And I pull up, and I get out to get gas, and then he comes and parks right next to where I was, and starts following me to the car. And I was like, oh, heck no. So I got in the car again and drove away.
It's the experiences of Knight, or something even worse, that often keeps parents up at night.
The biggest fear about having a teenage daughter is just that she might be naive, and someone might take advantage of her, and she could maybe unwittingly be in some unsafe situations.
This fear often results in parents having different rules based on their kids' genders, something many teenage girls do not like.
It's kind of annoying if they're allowed to do things that I can't, because sometimes they get to go do things by themselves, but I'm always required to go in a group or something.
It's the overprotection that frustrates girls, I think. The stereotype that you can't hold your own, or that you can't do certain things because of the way that we're looked at as a fragile, dainty character.
Today's technology often forces parents to make up rules as they go, as things have changed over the years.
The biggest change has been, I remember as a kid before I drove, we went sun up, and the rule was you had to be home by dark. And we didn't have cell phones. Our parents didn't know where we were. We played in the creek, we ran around all over the neighborhood, and our parents didn't know where we were. As we got older, if we went to a friend's house, we had to call and check in. But we didn't have the technology that we have now. And if you got in trouble, if something was going wrong, you didn't have a way to communicate. So I think having your cell phone with you all the time, making sure it's charged, those are rules that didn't apply to me.
Although the threat was around before cell phones, social media has shed a new light on it.
I think we need to add a few rules that wouldn't have applied to me growing up. Things about social media and things of that nature.
But I also think times have changed, and media's made it more prevalent about all of the predators that are out there.
So much so that parents may treat their daughters differently.
I find myself with her in particular in terms of hanging out with boys or in mixed group company. I tell her to always be very careful, never to feel pressured to be in a room alone with a boy or anything like that. And it's interesting because I never had that same kind of commentary with either of the boys just because I didn't think that it was necessary.
Like not allowed to be a delivery driver or like run by myself, but I have friends, like I don't, but I have friends that carry pepper spray. My parents always tell me that like if I'm walking to my car from a building that I can't have earbuds in, and that once I get in my car that I need to lock the doors even before I start the engine, and that like we have locks on all of our doors. I mean, normal stuff, but also like stuff that's specifically to me and not my brother, just because, I don't know, I feel like they worry about me a lot more.
Strader feels that the different set of rules are frustrating.
There's a big feminism movement to like say that women are strong, and we are, but I think it's more than just like everybody believing that we're strong. I think it's making our streets safer, like from predators and different people that like could hurt us potentially.
Reporting for WTV, I'm Remi Williams.